1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon. Oh,
is it the quarters or the semis? I think from the quarters, but it's not been there. And of course, we had a game the other day between Villa and Newcastle.
Yeah.
You may have seen it.
Yeah,
And the referee, I think, was Chris Kavanagh, who, you know, people will say, well, none of the refs are that good, but I think he's as good as any. They all do their best. It's not an easy job being a ref or the assistant refs either. But between them, they contrived to make a couple of very poor decisions. And in fact, I'm trying to think if this was in the game where there wasn't any VAR. But I don't know whether you saw it, but Newcastle should have got a penalty when a Villa defender handled the ball. I forget his name, but he was so clearly in the penalty area. Now, you may say, you might say, well, the ref, if he didn't see it, but that's why you have a linesman or an assistant ref. Between them, they really messed it up because it was so clearly, and I still find it hard to believe that they couldn't see that. I mean, sometimes if it's on the line or just in, just out, you can understand, especially without VAR there, you can understand why a referee might make a mistake or the linesman thought, oh, I wasn't in the penalty. But this visibly, I mean, and the ref wasn't that far away, and nor was the linesman is the edge of the penalty area. It was so visibly inside, and well, there's no explanation. I don't know what explanation the ref or the lines people would have given for that. Now, as it happened, shortly after that, from the free kick, Newcastle did score.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, there was another one where I believe Newcastle should have got a penalty and didn't. When again, that was a bit of a slam dunk decision, or should have been. But in the event, Newcastle scored, I think, 3 goals in that match, and they won the game. So no great problem. But what the aftermath of that, I read the following day, a former referee called Mark Halsey. I can remember him when he was a ref not that long ago. He was writing a column for a newspaper, apparently. And he was actually calling for the resignation or the sacking of Howard Webb, who's the head of the PGMOL, the Referees Association. And Mark Halsey's view was that since Howard Webb took over from Mike Riley, who he said that was a disastrous tenure. Well, that may be harsh, I don't know, but clearly there have been issues with refereeing decisions and so on. But he said it's not improved since Webb has been there. Now, Webb was actually quite a good referee, a very good referee, if you remember. He was tall, he was just commanding, which maybe you need. And I think he was reckoned to be one of the best ones. And so he took over that job, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. But week after week, we still seem to be seeing poor decisions, and often involving VAR, where, because the human element is still involved in making decisions on, whether it was a penalty, whether it wasn't, then mistakes are made. Now, mistakes are inevitable, of course they are. But something, again, I read the other day, was that much of in the Eurozone of football leagues, they are a bit less, a bit less looking at the minute situation of an offside being like a finger or a tip of an elbow, something like that. And they can spend ages here in our games, is it, isn't it? And you think, well, come on, make a decision. And I think that the criticism came from Europe, which said, well, we don't tie it down to that degree. If someone basically is in...
say hello to old Mimi, Dr. Gladys and Rose, 3 beautiful ladies who join us on our shows. There's one other bro, sometimes joins us on the show.
Is in line, he's not offside. Now, the fact that someone's toe or their boot edge is over should not disqualify a goal, and that's my view. People say we're like offside. I mean, it's either offside or it isn't because it's a semi-automated system, but there still are judgments to be made on that. And personally, I wouldn't want to be without VAR now, and I think there's a good argument for VAR in what that happened in the Villa-Newcastle game. That if they had VAR, that would have been awarded a penalty. Newcastle would have got a penalty, but VAR wasn't there. So I would never vote for disbanding VAR. I think it's made a big difference, and goals have been awarded or disallowed for correct circumstances. But again, the human aspect is there as well, and in fact, that couple of poor decisions in that match really was a real endorsement of the need for VAR. But yeah, I think the whole question of refereeing, and we've often said it's a tough job and not the sort of job I would want to have, because the thing is, what somebody said, I think maybe it was Mark Halsey, he said the reason that they got it wrong, the linesman may not have got back down quickly enough. I don't know. I don't remember what that side of it was. He said, but it looks like Chris Kavanagh, for a few moments, completely lost his concentration. Now, in any part of life that involves any of us, we know how hard it is to remain focused on something for more, really, than a few minutes. Now, I think humans have an attention span, we're told, in the best circumstances, of about 15 minutes. In other words, you can listen to a speaker, someone talking to you or whatever, or singing to you in a concert. We have an attention span of 15, and then our mind starts to wander, albeit just momentarily or for a minute or two. We can't maintain 100% concentration. Now, driving requires high levels of concentration, and I guess we do that, but that's probably why at the end of a long drive, we can feel mentally tired sometimes, and you realise it's burned up some energy because you have the focus. It takes it, the brain only weighs about 3% of the body, but it uses 20% of the energy, and that's just an ordinary life. So a referee, and I've often kind of thought this before, and it hasn't really been mentioned before, but the concentration level, they cannot, unlike a player, every player on that pitch, even a goalkeeper when the ball's elsewhere, they can lose concentration. They can, and all the ball's come my way, and you suddenly get jerked back into the present. Oh God, I've got to tackle that bloke or whatever. Players can lose concentration for.
Say hello to old Mimi, Dr. Gladys and Rose, three beautiful ladies who join us on our shows. There's one other bro, sometimes joins us on